الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذ جاءك المنافقون قالوا نشهد أنك لرسول الله والله يعلم إنك لرسوله والله يشهد أن المنافقين لكاذبون. The first of our loud salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with your loudest voices on honor of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The discussion concerning hypocrites and hypocrisy is a discussion of historical value and contemporary significance, and is one of the most important discussions in the Islamic ethical system. For the characteristic of hypocrisy is a characteristic which has been seen throughout human history, seen through all religions in the world today, in all communities in the world today, and is a struggle which every human being faces. For hypocrites and hypocrisy are characteristics which are detested by all cultures throughout human history, yet at the same time are characteristics which have been faced by all cultures throughout human history. For we find that every prophet of God had to face hypocrites who used to stand in front of their message and try and remove people away from their path. And therefore there is a need to study hypocrisy in order that we are able to understand exactly what type of disease hypocrisy originally is. For within the religion of Islam, hypocrisy is viewed as a disease. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when speaking about the hypocrites in the Quran, says, فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ. In their hearts there is a disease. When you talk of somebody who has a marad or is maril, it means that they have a disease within them, or an ailment, or a virus which needs to be cured. For like any virus, if it spreads too far, it can not only destroy your life, but destroy the life of those around you. And therefore you found that within the religion of Islam, it is viewed as a disease of the heart of the human being. Because the religion of Islam states that every human being endeavors to have a heart that is pure and peaceful. And that hypocrisy highlights that the heart is unfortunately one which is full of viruses and one which needs to be cured. That's why Imam Muslim narrates in his Sahih that a hypocrite is like a sheep which wanders from one flock to another. Because when you look at any hypocrite, they do not just sit with one group of people. They wander from one flock to another. With one group they say one thing, to another they say something completely different. And you can never know whether they are saying something which they mean or which they don't mean. You never know when they speak to you, are they full of deceit or are they saying the truth in front of you? And you never know whether they are acting that which they preach. Hence the worst thing in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one who says something which they do not act. Hence the Quran says, لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say that which you do not act? And that you will find that this is the very meaning of the hypocrites in the religion of Islam. That they say that which they do not act. And that's why it's not only the religion of Islam which detests hypocrisy. Likewise, if you go, for example, to Christianity, in the section in the Bible on the woes of the Pharisees, is a discussion of the hypocrites who encircled the Prophet Jesus. And one may argue that in Christian theology, it was the Prophet Jesus' own companions who led to his crucifixion. As in those who claimed to say in front of him that we believe you are what you are, eventually were the ones who led the Romans and the Jews towards him. And that we find that every prophet of God in history was encircled by hypocrites. Likewise, Buddha has a beautiful saying when he talks about those scholars who portray an ascetic lifestyle, but their soul is full of desires. You find sometimes that a scholar may be a hypocrite, not just the layman who follows the religion. And so you find Buddha saying that there are those who portray asceticism, but their soul is full of desire. What's the point of being good on the outside when you have nothing inside? And therefore the hypocrite is one whose heart is full of hatred, but whose tongue claims to be truthful. And that within Buddhism and within Christianity, the hypocrite is detested, because hypocrisy may be something which is in the psychology of each one of us. That sometimes you fear some of us come forward and say that we are not hypocrites, we are good people, we've done nothing wrong in our life. He is a hypocrite. He is a hypocrite. They are hypocrites. The very fact that you point to people who are hypocrites means there's a problem in your hypocrisy, number one. And number two, in psychology, there is what is known as the fundamental attribution error. What is the fundamental attribution error? It is within the psychology of some human beings that when they see others make a mistake, they say that it's innate within them. But when they make a mistake, they say it's the environment. Have you seen some people? When they make a mistake, they say it's the environment. I'm not religious because of the environment. Otherwise, if I was in a religious environment, I would be very religious. Then when others make a mistake, they say, look at him, naturally he makes mistakes. Hold on. You yourself don't make natural mistakes, but others do. But when you make a mistake, you always attribute it to others. And that is what is known as the fundamental attribution error. That when others in our communities make mistakes, we say that they have innate nature of making mistakes. Whereas when we make a mistake, we say it's the environment that led us to make a mistake. Therefore, the religion of Islam examined hypocrisy in depth. And that is what we seek to examine tonight. The word for hypocrisy in the religion of Islam is nifaq. And its derivatives have been shown in the Quran. In the Quran you find the word nifaq, the word munafiq, or the word munafiqun, or the word munafiqeen. That's why you find that the Quran has a beautiful index at the beginning. Whenever you open a Quran, it has an index of which type of spiritual states you may be in. If you think you're a believer, read Surah Al-Mu'minun. If you think that you might be a kafir, read Surah Al-Kafirun. And if you think you're a munafiq, read Surah Al-Munafiqun. Have you noticed how the Quran acts as an index for our life? That the believers, they have their signs and they have their attributes in Surah 23 of the Quran. قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون والذين هم عن اللغو معرضون. One after another. The كافرون قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. Likewise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when wanting to explain what is a hypocrite, done it in the most simple manner by revealing a surah called the Hypocrites. Was there a need to get anything too difficult? No. Just reveal Surah 63 of the Quran, Surah Al-Munafiqun. When you read the surah, use it as a mirror. Because why do I look in a mirror? I look in a mirror, number one, to look at the way I am portraying myself, to try and somehow beautify myself. The Quran is a mirror for the believer. And therefore Surah Al-Munafiqun is a mirror for each one of us. Just in case we are going through a period of hypocrisy, every once in a while, the few verses of Surah Al-Munafiqun should be read. The first question, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal a surah called the Hypocrites? The reason was Allah wanted to show that not everybody around Rasulullah is a true believer. You see, there are some in the world who do not allow you to question anybody who's around Rasulullah. They say to you, how dare you question him? He saw Rasulullah, he ate with Rasulullah, he walked with Rasulullah, he went to war with Rasulullah. How dare you say anything about him? No. He is going to Jannah. Why is he going to Jannah? Because he was around Rasulullah. Is that the only reason? Yes. They were the greatest people. They walked with the Prophet and they talked with him. We are 1,400 years later. We have no right to question their action. If we have no right to question their action, why does Allah tell the companions to look at the actions of Fir'aun? As in Fir'aun, wasn't he thousands of years before they came? So if we've got no right to study history, then why are we told to study Fir'aun when he is 1,000 years before them? Many in the world come to us in the school of Ahlul Bayt and say that you have imams who are infallible. Nobody can be infallible. I reply by saying that there are some who believe that every companion is infallible and we can't even question them. The whole reason Surah Al-Munafiqun was revealed was to say, not everybody who smiled with Rasulullah necessarily believed in Rasulullah. That in the Quran in Surah 9 verse 101 says that from the Arabs and from the people of Medina there are hypocrites. Some of them you know, others of them we know. Which means Rasulullah didn't know every hypocrite around him. La ta'lamuhum. We know them. We are the ones who are aware of them. They may come and act with morals in front of you. It doesn't mean they believe in you. And the reason we are revealing the surah of the hypocrites is to tell everybody that not anyone who encircles Rasulullah necessarily follows the message of Rasulullah. That's why in the Sahih, the famous hadith, when Rasulullah comes to the pool of Kawthar, he sees his companions going one way and he's going another. He says, where are my companions going? The reply comes that you do not know what they did after you. Meaning that not everyone who is around you is necessarily believing in you. Number one. Number two, that's why Imam Ali's Quran was rejected after Rasulullah died. Many people ask, you Shia follow the Quran of Imam Ali. Therefore you have a different Quran. No, we don't have a different Quran. The Quran of Imam Ali is the same Quran we have today. The only difference was that Imam Ali would write down the reasons of the revelation of every verse in the Quran next to the verse. That would of course mean he would write the names of the hypocrites who the verse was revealed about. Now, if my father's name is in that verse, would I be happy or no? Example, Surah 68 verse 13. عُتُلٌ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ زَنِيمٌ. He was a man born out of wedlock, illegitimate birth. Was revealed about Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. That Allah said he's born out of wedlock. Nobody knew who the parents were exactly. I don't think his son would be happy if this verse is revealed about him. Khalid would not be happy if his father's name was written next to the verse. Likewise, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ was revealed about Al-As ibn Wa'il, who the Quran said, you are making fun of Rasulullah, saying he has no line. You are the one without a line. I don't think his son Ammar would be very happy with this verse. Ammar ibn al-As. Therefore, Ali ibn Abi Talib's Quran, the tafsir was rejected because the name of every hypocrite around Rasulullah was written next to the verse. Every hypocrite, his name was there. Later on, people said, what are you doing accepting his tafsir? Every one of our fathers is being implicated. So his tafsir was banned from being written. That's why when you come to Surah Al-Munafiqun, remember a beautiful saying of Hassan al-Basri before you study the verses. Hassan al-Basri used to say, a mu'min always fears hypocrisy whereas a hypocrite feels secure from hypocrisy. A mu'min fears hypocrisy. Why? Because hypocrisy can attack each one of us, true? As in every day in our life, we face a moment where we might become a hypocrite. Some of us, our behavior at home is different from our behavior in the community. At home, we are like a microwave oven with our children. Shouting, loud, hitting, abusive. When we come to the community, Salamu alaykum wa rahmatullah. How are you, brother? Alhamdulillah. He comes peacefully. At home with his wife, he doesn't speak. Past when he comes to the mosque, someone's pressed the play button and he starts. He doesn't stop. Some of us fear hypocrisy. It's a sign of a believer. Why? Because a believer is not arrogant enough to say, I will never become a hypocrite. Because each one of us know that hypocrisy is like something which stands in front of us and says, come on, be a hypocrite. It affects each one of us. A hypocrite, however, says, I am secure from hypocrisy. It will never affect me. I am a true believer. What do you mean? You are hypocrites, not me. Hypocrite never comes to me. Hassan al-Basri used to say, a mu'min fears hypocrisy, whereas a munafiq feels secure from hypocrisy. And therefore, when you come to Surah Al-Munafiqun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do you want to know whether you're a hypocrite or no? Let's read Surah Al-Munafiqun and say what is the criteria. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إذ جاءك المنافقون قالوا نشهد إنك لرسول الله والله يعلم إنك لرسوله والله يشهد إن المنافقين لكاذبون. The hypocrites come to you, O Muhammad, and they say, we believe you are the prophet of God in front of you. Then Allah replied to them, I know he is the prophet of God. And I know that you hypocrites are all liars. What does this mean? This means at the time there used to be people who would come in front of Rasulullah. When they come to him, they would say, Ya Rasulullah, we want to pray next to you. You are the man sent by Allah. Ya Rasulullah, we want to die next to you. Ya Rasulullah, we want to eat with you. Allah replied to them, don't say to him, you believe he's a prophet. I know he's my prophet. And I know that when you talk to him, your aim is to lie, nothing else. Do you know how this was revealed? There were many who would walk with Rasulullah. Why? Because you know when it's cool to walk around a popular person? You all join in. Before, that person was nothing. He was a young orphan called Muhammad. Nobody knew him. Then all of a sudden, he has many soldiers. He has a great army. He has a state. Suddenly everybody began to join him. Amongst those chief of hypocrites who would come and have two faces with Rasulullah was Abdullah ibn Ubay. Abdullah ibn Ubay, in front of Rasulullah, he would be such a peaceful person. Salamu alaykum ya Rasulullah, how are you? I hope the family is all good. It's the same in today's community. In front of you, mashallah. When you leave, straight away the neck is cut. Likewise, in the time of Rasulullah, this is exactly what happens. He used to come, he was the chief of the Khazraj. You know in Medina, the Aus and the Khazraj, the two tribes. He was the chief of the Khazraj. When he was the chief, he thought he was going to be the king of Medina. But his timing went bad because Rasulullah came to Medina. When Rasulullah came to Medina, nobody hated Rasulullah like him, but he couldn't say anything. He was trying to wait. He worked with the Jews of Medina, the Banu Qaynuqa. There were three main Jewish tribes in Medina. Qaynuqa, Nadir, and Qurayza. They were the main Jewish tribe. Imagine this person. In the morning, he'd come to Rasulullah, say, Salamu alaykum ya Rasulullah, we love you. In the evening, he's in the Jews' houses saying, how are we going to kill Muhammad? Hypocrisy is worse than disbelief. Do you know why? A kafir is not as bad as a hypocrite. A kafir in front of you says, look, I don't like you and I don't believe in you. A hypocrite in front of you says, I like you. Behind your back, he's trying to kill you. That's why he would do it. He would go to the Jews, he'd plan with them. On the day of the battle of Uhud, this same man made 300 soldiers of Rasulullah leave his army. He came with them, he started whispering, what are we doing here? We should leave. We'll go back to Medina. We'll become the rich people. Leave Rasulullah. 300 of the Muslims left with him. It shows you how one hypocrite in a community can become like a bad apple, spoiling the rest of the community. One hypocrite it takes. Likewise, when Rasulullah went on the battle of Tabuk, Rasulullah left. It was the only battle he left Ali ibn Abi Talib behind. He left Ali ibn Abi Talib behind in Medina. Why? Because Rasulullah knew Abdullah ibn Ubay, the same person who in the morning says, I love you, Rasulullah. That same person was staying behind in Medina. Why? Surah 9 of the Quran says the whole story. Do you know what they did? When Rasulullah left, they started building a mosque. Why did they build a mosque? Their excuse of building a mosque, they said, was because the disabled people and those who have diseases, they find it hard to get to the mosque. So they built a mosque with that excuse. The real reason they built the mosque was to use it as a center to plot against Rasulullah before he comes back. They used it as a mosque of hypocrisy. In the Quran it's called Masjid Zarar, the masjid of the hypocrites which causes harm. Rasulullah was in Tabuk, he didn't know what was happening. On his way back they met him with an envoy. They said, Ya Rasulullah, would you come and pray in our mosque? Do you know why? They wanted legitimacy for their mosque. Because if they say Rasulullah prayed here, that means no one's ever going to think that the hypocrites are planning. People are going to say, if Rasulullah prays here, that means Abdullah ibn Ubay is not a hypocrite. Who was working with him? A monk by the name of Abu Ammar. They were working together with each other. They built the mosque. They said, Ya Rasulullah, would you come? Rasulullah said, at the moment I'm in the middle of a busy period, but I will try and come. Eventually, Rasulullah was on his way. Allah revealed the verses that this mosque has to be destroyed. Because this is a mosque of hypocrisy. They claim that they are doing it for a good reason, but their real reason is to cause disunity between the Muslim Ummah. And therefore you found how this verse was reflected, that there are those who used to come to Rasulullah and smile with him, then behind his back they were building a mosque, trying to destroy the very religion of Islam. Subhanallah, these two hypocrites, Abu Ammar and Abdullah ibn Ubay, subhanallah, how sometimes the pure can come out of the bad. Abdullah ibn Ubay had a daughter by the name of Jamila. Abu Ammar had a son by the name of Hanzala. They got married the day before the Battle of Uhud. They got married to each other and both of them had become Muslims. Imagine on the day you get married, Rasulullah makes an announcement that, oh people, we are going towards Uhud. You've just got married. What a honeymoon. You have to go towards Uhud. Some of us would think twice. Hanzala didn't. He said to his wife, although your dad attacked Rasulullah, my dad attacked Rasulullah, I want us both to die serving Rasulullah. He said to her, tonight is our wedding night. I'm going to be with you. Tomorrow I'm going to leave for Uhud. They stayed that night together. In the morning they woke up. Just before he was leaving, he kissed her goodbye. She said to him, wait. I want to get 4 women to be witnesses that us two were together tonight. So the 4 witnesses came, said, Hanzala, say to them, we were together tonight. He said, I admit, me and my wife got married tonight. She said, go farewell and go and serve Rasulullah. Imagine, her father was the chief of the hypocrites. Look how she comes out. He went in a state of janaba. He had not had time for ghusl. He went straight towards Uhud. In Uhud, he was known to have fought Abu Sufyan. He managed to cut the feet of the horse of Abu Sufyan, but Abu Sufyan escaped. As he was about to strike Abu Sufyan, the spear came into him and he died. When he died, do you know what Rasulullah said to his companions? He said, I can see angels giving him ghusl and taking him away. When they returned, Rasulullah said that to his wife. Look, the parents are hypocrites, but the children are beautiful. Came back, they asked his wife, why did you ask for 4 witnesses? She said, because on our wedding night, I saw a dream that the heavens were opened and the angels were taking Hanzala through the heavens. So I wanted witnesses so that if I had a child, people would know he's the son of Hanzala. Do you know who their child was? Abdullah ibn Hanzala, the man who fought Yazid ibn Muawiyah after the battle of Karbala. He fought Yazid ibn Muawiyah. He raised the army of Medina to fight Yazid. Therefore you found that the first sign of the hypocrites are what? In front of you they smile, behind you they slaughter. in our communities. They praise you and they smile in front of you. As soon as you leave, they come and attack you viciously. That the biggest sign of a hypocrite is that in front of you he says you are good, but Allah knows you are lying when you are speaking to them. And while this type of attitude continues, you know a community is destroyed. You know why? Because none of us trust each other. We do not know if someone is saying something sincerely or no. The first sign. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him what? اتخذوا أيمانهم جنة. They use their oath of allegiance as a shield of their belief. Do you know what this means? This means they used to use their oath of saying أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. They used to use that not because they believed in it, but they used it as an oath to settle into the community. As likewise in our communities today, you have people who say أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله, but they don't act like Muhammad Rasulullah in any of their ways. They are far away from it. This affected some of Rasulullah's companions to the extent there was one of his companions who fought with him in the battle of Badr. In the battle of Badr, he said, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. In the battle of Badr, he fought with Rasulullah. As soon as the battle finished, this man was one of those who Allah revealed this verse about. What was his name? Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a. Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a. He was with Rasulullah all the time. All the time he would be saying, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. All the time. Rasulullah once received a revelation from Jibreel. Do you know what the revelation was? The revelation from Jibreel came forward and said, Ya Rasulullah, you have a hypocrite amongst your people. He said, who is it? He said, it is Hatib. He said, what's he done? He said, everything that you tell your companions you're going to do, he has written it in a letter and has given it to a woman to take to the people of Quraysh. Imagine, around Rasulullah are people who in front of him say, Nashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. But then they are writing letters to Quraysh saying, this is what Rasulullah is planning. Rasulullah called his companions. He said, there is a lady who's taken a letter. That's why the Quran doesn't just say hypocrites of men. It said the male hypocrites and the female hypocrites. That there are some munafiqeen and munafiqat. Rasulullah said to his companions, there is a lady taking a letter to Quraysh. Companions said, what do you mean, Ya Rasulullah? He said, she's taking the letter of Hatib. They said, Ya Rasulullah, are you serious? Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a, he was with us at Badr. Don't let anyone who tells you whoever fought at Badr was religious. This is the proof. So what happened was, they said, okay, Ya Rasulullah, what do you want us to do? He said, go quickly towards the lady, and when you go towards her, tell her we want the letter. They came, they stopped her. They said, we want the letter. She said, I swear by Rasulullah, I do not have the letter. They swear by Rasulullah, yet they are the biggest of liars. Said to her, no, give us the letter. She said, I swear. They said, do you really swear? She said, yes. They said, okay, we listen to you and we go back. I thought you believed Muhammad gets messages from the heavens. They came back, they said, Ya Rasulullah, I don't think you are right. And he said to them, why? They said, because we asked her, she swore by your name. Therefore, definitely she's telling the truth. He said, Ali ibn Abi Talib, come next to me, please. He said, what is it, master? He said, go to her, get the letter. These people don't think I'm right. I haven't received any revelation from Jibreel or anything like that. No, they have their own opinion. Ali ibn Abi Talib, come next to me. That lady go. Ali ibn Abi Talib went, he stopped her on the way. He said to her, give us the letter. She said, I swear by Rasulullah, I have no letter. When Dhul Fiqar comes out, every letter we ever wrote comes out. Came out like that. She said, here's the letter. Just turn around, turn around. He turned around. She took out the letter. He took it and he went back. He went back and he showed them the letter. The idea was to show that the second sign after the first one. The first one is that they come and they smile with you. The second one is what? That they use your name. And they swear by your name, yet they are still lying. They swore by Rasulullah's name, yet they would still lie to Rasulullah. The second. Number 3 is beautiful. Number 3 really shows what the hypocrites are. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَهُمْ تُعْجِبُكَ أَجْسَامُهُمْ وَإِن يَقُولُوا تَسْمَعْ لِقَوْلِهِمْ كأنهم خشب مسندة. Do you know what it says? When you look at them, you are impressed by their stature. And when they speak, you listen to what they say. But really, they are just like that weak wood which is about to fall. Do you know what this means? Around Rasulullah, there used to be hypocrites. They would always say, Ya Rasulullah, we are ready for war. Give me the sword. I'll finish everyone. When they talk, you listen to them. When you look at them, they look so strong. But do you know what they really are? Khushubun musannada. Khushub means wood. Musannada is that wood which has eroded. It means you just blow it and it all falls. You see, the true test of a believer, do you know is where? Not how much he says, I am a warrior, I am a warrior. Put him on the battlefield. Let's see if he is a warrior. Because on the battlefield, Iman and hypocrisy is separated. The hypocrite will never be on the front line of war. Because he's scared of death. Do you know why he's scared of death? Because he doesn't believe there's an afterlife. He doesn't want to die. He has joined Rasulullah because Rasulullah's army is strong. He has to be in the middle. The believer says, give me the front flag. I'll defend this religion. You see, it's ironic at Khandaq, Rasulullah had to ask 3 times and only one man said, I'll go. Isn't it ironic? Because Ammar ibn Wid said to them, he said, I hear all of you love to be a martyr, don't you? So they said, yes. He said, then why don't you come out and fight me? Because if you truly believe in this whole fallacy, Muhammad tells you that on the day of judgment, the martyr is raised so high, come out. If you kill me, you go to heaven. And if I kill you, you go to this heaven. So why don't you come out? It's ironic that the kafir exposes the munafiqun. Only one man said, let me at him. I don't fear anything he has. At Khaybar it's the same. But do you know where the best example was ever shown? At a war many of us never study. Hunayn. Ali ibn Abi Talib in Hunayn, one English historian says, was like a demon in the middle of a battlefield by himself. You see, I always wondered as a speaker about Hunayn. Do you know why? I always heard it, but I never heard one lecture on it. So I then read Imam Zain al-Abidin in his khutbah in Sham saying, I am the son of the one who fought at Badr and Hunayn. So as a speaker you wonder, why not Badr and Khaybar? Why not Badr and Khandaq? Why not Badr and Uhud? Why does Zain al-Abidin say, I am the son of the one who fought at Badr and Hunayn? Because the greatest achievements of Ali ibn Abi Talib were in Badr and Hunayn. Not Badr and Khaybar. Not Badr and Khandaq. We think it's Khaybar because the only lecture we ever hear is Khaybar. But if you go and study Hunayn, you'll see Ali ibn Abi Talib on that day, his iman all emerges quite stunningly. Do you know why? Because Badr was the first battle Rasulullah led, and according to some historians, Hunayn was the last battle he led. It's as if Rasulullah is saying, the same man who gave me victory at Badr also gave me victory at Hunayn. But why? Why does Zain al-Abidin say, I am the son of the one who fought at Badr and Hunayn? Hunayn was not against the Jews, nor was it against necessarily the tribes which we all studied. No, it was against Banu Thaqif and Banu Hawazin, the tribes of Mecca. It was in the 8th year of Hijrah, 3 years before Rasulullah died. Rasulullah has just left Medina for 4 weeks. He's just come to Mecca. There are only 2 tribes left who are willing now to fight Islam, even though they know Islam is stronger. Do you know who they are? Thaqif and Hawazin. Thaqif and Hawazin were Ali al-Akbar's grandparents from his mum's side. They were the most vicious warriors. They had 2 generals who used to be known as the powerhouses. Malik ibn Auf al-Nasri and Uthman ibn Abdullah. Nobody defeats those 2 in war. If they come together, they do not lose. At Hunayn, Rasulullah at Badr and Uhud and Khandaq, he was always the minor one. He didn't have many soldiers, true? At Hunayn, he took with him 12,000 soldiers.
10,000 from Medina, 2,000 from Mecca. Do you know how many the opposition had? 4,000. Rasulullah went with 12,000. When he went, do you know what he said to his companions? He said to them, don't be overconfident and arrogant. Remember the days we were only 300, and because of the arrogance of the opposition, we found success. So he said, don't be overconfident, don't be arrogant. The leader on one side was Khalid ibn al-Walid. The leader on the other side was Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib turned around. He knew that there was no need to be arrogant in a war. Remain patient, we'll be victorious. Khalid ibn Walid on the other hand was certain. Don't worry, I'll finish all this off. Malik ibn Auf al-Nasri on the opposition, do you know what he said to Uthman bin Abdullah? He said, listen, we know they're warriors. The main ones is Ali ibn Abi Talib and Khalid. He said, because the war was between Mecca and Ta'if. You know that area? It was in the middle. So he said, what I'm going to do, when they come with their main army, I'm going to trap them in one of the roads which leads to Ta'if. Me and you will jump on both of them with the rest of our soldiers in that alleyway. Because the alleyway was really tight. Khalid ibn al-Walid made the mistake of going through the alleyway. When he went through the alleyway, Uthman ibn Abdullah one way, Malik ibn Auf the other, jumped and surrounded the soldiers. Suddenly, the Muslim soldiers fled. I ask you to go to any book of history. 12,000 were at the beginning. Do you know how many were left? 8. The rest of the Muslims started running away. Except 8. 8 remained behind with Rasulullah. Because a hypocrite would never run away from war. A hypocrite loves the war. He either brings you victory or he dies as a martyr. Do you know who the 8 were? Osama ibn Zayd. You know the one who led the army when he was 18? They said, why 18? Why 18? Because you ran away when he was 15. You ran away when he was 15. He stayed. Osama ibn Zayd. Abu Sufyan ibn al-Harith was another one who stayed behind. Rabi'a ibn al-Harith stayed behind. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud stayed behind. Ayman ibn Ubayd stayed behind. Abbas ibn Abd al-Muttalib stayed behind. Fadl ibn al-Abbas stayed behind. And the 8th one was Ali ibn Abi Talib. 8 of them. Do you know what Ali ibn Abi Talib said to Osama? Just stay with me. We'll win this battle. Leave it to us. He led with Osama. The English historian says, Ali ibn Abi Talib at Hunayn was like a man possessed. He just went through the army one after another. He faced Uthman bin Abdullah and Malik bin Auf and he completely annihilated them one after another. That's why Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he was looking at war, when he saw everybody running away, he said, this is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Rasulullah saw everybody running away, he said, we still have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They continued until they completely finished off the other army. The other army all ran away. That's why he says, Ali ibn Abi Talib, I am the son of the one who fought at Badr and Hunayn. 8 soldiers managed to defeat the opposition, led by Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's why the Quran says, you look at them, they look strong. When they talk to you, their words are so good. But they are like wood which is eroded. When they come to the battlefield, many of them run away. Only the son of Abu Talib stands like a pillar in front of a battlefield. And that's why you found that the worst thing the Quran and the Hadith tell us about hypocrites is if a government of Muslims is made up of hypocrites. If a government of Muslims is made up of hypocrites, then the Muslim empire erodes. Why? Because the government ends up, there's 3 signs of a hypocrite, Rasulullah said. When they speak to you, they lie, number 1. When they argue with you, they insult you, number 2. When they make a covenant with you, they always break that covenant. Look in Islamic history. The whole reason Islam went backwards was because of hypocritical governments. Governments which came in, took the leadership from the family who Allah chose, and started lying to their people. I'll give you an example. Harun al-Rashid, when he was Khalifa of Banu Abbas, Harun al-Rashid was one of the most hypocritical khulafa of Islam. In front of the people, salah, saum, hajj, zakat. Behind the people's back, lying, breaking covenants, insulting. Do you know what he used to do? he used to employ his closest friends. And notice with any dictators, they always bring close family friends in the government who do not have the quality to be there. Do you know who he bought? The Barmaki family. You know who the Barmaki family were? For 17 years, they were the best ministers of Harun al-Rashid. They would lie to the people, insult the people, be rude to the people. Harun al-Rashid built himself a government of hypocrites. But you know what Allah does? However much a government is hypocritical, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always make them fall. Always. The Barmaki family, because they didn't stand up to the hypocrisy of Harun al-Rashid, and they were the very reason Imam Musa al-Kadhim spent 25 years of his life in prison. 25 years Imam Musa al-Kadhim was in prison because of this Barmaki family. Do you think Allah allowed these hypocrites to get away with it? No way. No way. The Barmaki family stayed in the palace of Harun al-Rashid 18 years. And suddenly one day, because of one argument with the Barmaki family, he kicked them all out. You treated Allah's people in this way, watch what Allah will do to you. They were kicked out to the extent Muhammad al-Hashimi says one day it was the day of Eid. When I was walking, who did I see? I saw an old lady selling clothes. She was wearing old tattered clothes. My mom looked at me, she said, "Do you know who that is or no?" I said, "I don't know, it's some old lady who's wearing old clothes." The mother said, "That's Ubaidah, the mother of Ja'far al-Barmaki." Ja'far and Yahya al-Barmaki caused Imam Musa al-Kadhim to be in prison in his life. She said, "Look at the mother now. Look at what clothes she wears. It's all ripped up into pieces." He came, he said, "Let's go and speak to her." So he said, I came near her. I said to her, "It's the day of Eid. How are you doing?" She said, "Look what God done to us." "What do you mean?" She says, "Do you know when I was in the palace of Harun al-Rashid, we were hypocrites, that's which we admit, yes." She said, "I used to have on the day of Eid 400 slave girls outside my bedroom. And I used to look at my son Ja'far in anger and say, why do I only have 400 servants? I should have more than that." Is that Islamic Khilafah? A woman has 400 female servants outside her room for what? 400 female servants? She said, "But look at me now. I'm a lady in old clothes. There is no empire for us anymore." He said, when I gave her 500 dirhams, she started crying, saying, "Thank you, this 500 dirhams is so much for me." There was a day 500 dirhams she would throw at people, saying, "Just get out of me." Whereas now Allah exposes the munafiq. That there is a time you lie to people, there is a time I will raise the people over you. And you will know why nifaq is not accepted. That's why we find that after Rasulullah died, Rasulullah gave us a criteria for understanding who the hypocrites were. Why? Because after Rasulullah died, there were 3 civil wars. Jamal, Saffin and Nahrawan. 3 civil wars where people who were with Rasulullah were fighting each other. Companions killing each other. Who do I take my sunnah from? On one side I see Talha. On the other I see Ali. On one side I see Amr ibn al-As. On the other I see Ali. On one side I see Ibn Muljam and his people. On the other I see Ali. As a Muslim, imagine you were living in that time after Rasulullah. Who do you take your sunnah from, your teachings? Rasulullah left you. What did he say? Loving Ali ibn Abi Talib is faith, and hatred of Ali ibn Abi Talib is hypocrisy. That was the barometer. That if you want to know what a true mu'min is, look at their love for Ali ibn Abi Talib. And look at their hatred for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Loving him is iman, and hatred of him is hypocrisy. That's why Amir al-Mu'mineen has an unbelievable line. He said, if I give a sword, if I strike a believer with a sword, so that he becomes hostile to me, he'll never be hostile to me. But if I gave the whole world to a munafiq, so that he loves me, he will never love me. Listen to these lines. If I was willing to strike a believer, so that that believer hates me, he'll never hate me. But if I give the whole of this world to a munafiq, so that he loves me, the munafiq will never love Ali ibn Abi Talib. That's why you saw a Jamal when people ask us, why do you follow Ali ibn Abi Talib? Simply because Rasulullah told us loving Ali ibn Abi Talib is faith and hatred of Ali ibn Abi Talib is hypocrisy. And that's why you found that when it came towards the 10th of Muharram, when it came towards the grandsons of Ali ibn Abi Talib, they made it clear to the son of Hind, they made it clear to the grandsons of Hind, they made it clear to the son of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas and the son of Ziyad ibn Abi that we are the grandsons of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We love him and it is our iman, and we have faith in him, and we hate those who hate him. Do you know who expressed this in the most beautiful way? Ali al-Akbar. When he came out on the battlefield, if you listen to his lines of poetry, he highlighted why those people he was fighting were hypocrites. Ana Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali. I am Ali, the son of Hussein, the son of Ali. He put that in purposely. نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي. We and the house of Allah are the first who have a right on Rasulullah. أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني أضربكم بالسيف أحمي عن أبي. I will pick up my spear and throw it towards you, and I'll pick up my sword and defend my father. أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني أضربكم بالسيف أحمي عن عيالات أبي. Listen now to what he says. ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. The strike of a youth who from one side is Hashimi and the other side is Alawi. Wallah la yahkumu baynana ibn al-da'i. I swear by Allah that the son of the illegitimate will never rule us. When he came forward, it was difficult for Aba Abdullah to let go of Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar, even one narration that one of our ulama saw Aba Abdullah in his dream completely covered by arrows. When he saw Aba Abdullah in his dream, he cried when he woke up the next morning. Again he saw Aba Abdullah the next day. He saw all the arrows had gone except 2 arrows. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, tell me who those 2 arrows symbolize. He said to him, when you cried for me, all the arrows went. But there are 2 arrows that will never leave me. The arrow of Abu Fadl al-Abbas and the arrow of Ali al-Akbar. Imagine Aba Abdullah on that day. He could not let Ali al-Akbar go. But eventually he let him go. Ali al-Akbar came forward valiantly. He bid farewell to Sayyidah Zainab. He bid farewell to his mother Layla. He then came forward. Narrations say that he killed 120 of the opposition. But every time he would turn around and say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Layla did not know what was happening to Ali al-Akbar. She was in the tent. Imagine how a mother feels. She doesn't know what's happening to her son. She's in the tent. The only way she would know would be by looking at the face of her husband, Aba Abdullah. If Aba Abdullah was smiling, she knew Ali al-Akbar was doing well. If the complexion of Aba Abdullah changed, she knew there was a problem. And suddenly she saw Aba Abdullah not smiling anymore. She said, Ya Aba Abdullah, tell me what is happening to Ali al-Akbar. Aba Abdullah turned around to her. He said, Layla, I ask you to be patient. I see someone coming to strike Ali al-Akbar. But then he said to her, Layla, read the dua of a mother. For when a mother recites dua, the dua is always accepted. She called out, she said, Ya Allah, you are the one who returned Yusuf back to Yaqub. Ya Allah, you returned Ismail back to Ibrahim. Ya Allah, return Ali al-Akbar back to his mother. Ali al-Akbar returned back to his mother. He embraced his mother. Then he came towards Aba Abdullah. When he came towards Aba Abdullah, he said, Ya Aba Abdullah, the thirst is killing me. The heat of my armor is killing me. Aba Abdullah took his tongue. He placed his tongue next to Ali al-Akbar's tongue. Then Ali al-Akbar looked at his father. He said, Oh my father, your tongue is drier than mine. Imagine how the tongue was of Aba Abdullah. Then Abu Abdullah said to him, Ali al-Akbar, go out and fight. In a moment your grandfather Rasulullah will quench your thirst from the pool of Kawthar. Ali al-Akbar went out, and then all of a sudden they struck Ali al-Akbar. He was down on the ground. He called out, Ya Abu Abdullah, come towards me. Narrations say Abu Abdullah didn't run to Ali al-Akbar. He didn't have the strength to run to Ali al-Akbar. He eventually came near him. He saw Ali al-Akbar saying salam with one hand, not with two hands. He wondered why. When he came near Ali al-Akbar, he came by his body. He removed the other hand. He saw that there was a spear in the chest of Ali al-Akbar. Abu Abdullah turned towards Najaf and he said, oh my father Ali ibn Abi Talib, you are the man who lifted the gate of Khaybar, but you never had to lift a spear from the chest of your son. Come towards Karbala and see what I am lifting. Then on the final moment, Abu Abdullah narrates, I saw Ali al-Akbar smiling, then I saw him crying. I said, my son Ali, why do you smile? Why do you cry? He said, oh my father, I smile because I can see my grandfather Abu Rasulullah coming towards me. He then said to my son, then why do you cry? He said, my father, this line is very hard. My father, I cry because I see my grandmother Fatima Zahra in front of me. And for every time that you cry, I see her slap herself on her cheeks looking at you. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the path of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A special dua to keep away hypocrisy. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima. تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملناه وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. Inshallah, tomorrow is the night of the 19th of Muharram. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the intercession of Amir al-Mu'mineen tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, inshallah, will be a majlis replying to Dr. Israr Ahmed and his statement about Ali ibn Abi Talib being drunk while he was in Salah. Inshallah, we will reply to him tomorrow. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us amongst the believers and to keep us away from hypocrisy and to allow us to be amongst those who honor the message of Rasulullah and his companions and his family. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Surah Al-Fatiha.